Hello people, hello everybody, welcome to my first ever video. This is gonna be kind of a rant, because I wanna talk about something Dark Souls wise, as some kind of psychologist, I guess. I wanna talk about some things in Dark Souls that I think can be applied to real life scenarios. And what do I mean by that? In today's world, I think video games get a bit too much hate. They get too much hate on their plate because of how they are treated as video games. People think they cause violence. People think they cause everything negative about the world. And I hope that maybe these videos, even if they don't necessarily help those people specifically, maybe they can help you to better understand how to explain a video game to a person who maybe does not understand them, does not like them, or does not simply play them. And what I mean by that is that in Dark Souls specifically, being one of my favorite games of all time, obviously, I think there is a certain level of preparation that's needed in any video, especially a video such as Dark Souls. And what I'm talking about is that Dark Souls teaches you one, I think, very important aspect of life, and that aspect is preparation. Now, what do I mean by preparation? So, the video you just watched, the clip, was me running into a battle against the Asylum Demon and horribly dying. Now, what do I mean by preparation in that scenario? Well, I could have avoided that fight and I could have avoided that confrontation until I was ready. And as the clip will suggest right now, running away, retreating with your tail between your legs, and as people would say, is not always a negative thing in life, as sometimes you are not ready for a confrontation, you're not ready to fight, you're not ready for whatever is going on in your life right now, and that is completely fine, I think. And that's what Dark Souls, in a sense, is trying to teach you, and something that you or I or anybody else can pick up from this game. Dark Souls teaches you that confrontations are not always the key. Like, you shouldn't have to confront somebody instantly. You don't have to confront somebody the very moment something bad happens. No, you can take your time, go and figure yourself out first before trying to confront somebody else. And what I've been trying to say all along is that, especially in Dark Souls, searching, just going around, you don't have to do this. And this tutorial boss is so perfectly encapsulating of what Dark Souls tries to teach you. It is a video game where mistakes are costly, yes indeed, but the knowledge you gain from making a mistake is worth more than the damage you suffer by making the mistake, if that makes any sense. And what especially Dark Souls teaches you is that you should search not only like in the sense of the video game, you should search your surroundings, you should search for weapons, for items, for whatever the hell you can find. And the thing is with that, in life, it can be taken as a metaphor. Searching for those items in Dark Souls can also mean, almost in a sense, searching for things that you maybe tucked away because they annoyed you, they irritated you, they made you feel a certain way, and that way made you feel bad. Dark Souls tells you it's not worth it to run away from them forever. It's worth it to retreat. It's worth it to put it aside, to give yourself breathing space. It's worth to give yourself enough breathing space so that you may properly convey your emotions, not only to yourself, but to the thing that is harming you. And what I mean specifically in a lot of people's lives is their love lives. A lot of people, when there's a problem in their love lives, they rush in. They just want to get the problem over with. They don't want to really talk about it. They just want to quote unquote talk about it because they don't really give a damn. I don't know how to explain it. They do give a damn. But Dark Souls teaches you shouldn't just rush. You shouldn't just walk into any encounter without actually thinking about it and without actually thinking what you're going to say. And in Dark Souls, this tutorial teaches you exactly that. It teaches you that Dark Souls is just one of those games where you get punished for rushing, you get punished for mistakes such as rushing. And that is not only seen in the fact that you can basically, without rushing, when you're taking your time, when you abide to the fact that you have enough time to explore, when you're not in a rush, the game gives you rewards. But in the sense of gameplay, a mistimed roll, panic rolling, a rushing to just escape danger can lead to there being, well, more danger because you make a mistake. Now, this tutorial is, in my opinion, a strong encapsulation of life itself in Dark Souls and life itself, like life. And after the tutorial, it's not like Dark Souls forgets its own concepts, right? It's not after one thing. It's not like Dark Souls teaches you one thing and never plans on doing that thing again with you. No, Dark Souls tells you what I taught you just now. Go bring it with yourself into the world of Lord Jan and Dark Souls, but not only into that world, it teaches you through failure. Because that's I think the second lesson that Dark Souls teaches you right after that: patience and preparation, and that being patient, being thoughtful of yourself, surroundings, and the people around you can lead to a lot more good in your life than you may think, and that being selfless can lead to a lot more good than you truly may think. Now, the second part that I want to talk about when it comes down to Dark Souls is failure, and how failing in Dark Souls, and realistically this can be applied to almost any game, failing in any game can result in you being better in life. Now, specifically for Dark Souls, it's so well designed to make you fail, to make you angry, to test you, to poke you, to make fun of you. It, in a sense, empowers you, motivates you, and makes you angry and want to actually play it and want to actually complete it. And in life, you are going to fail a lot. Now, I'll take a real world example. Again, love, a relationship. Most people's first relationships are going to be failures, no matter how you put it, no matter what you do, no matter what you say. People's first relationships are always going to be failures. Now, the thing about that is, in Dark Souls and in life, failure doesn't mean necessarily that something bad happened, because as I mentioned in my first lesson about failure and about how just because you take damage, just because you get hurt from something, doesn't mean that that value, that the knowledge that you got from getting hurt, the value you get from getting, the knowledge you get from getting hurt is priceless, no matter how you put it. That's the essence of Dark Souls, in my opinion. In Dark Souls, knowledge is value, is what I should say. In Dark Souls, knowledge is the best thing you can have, without a shadow of a doubt. And what makes Dark Souls so freaking good to teach you this stuff in real life is just exactly what I talked about. How hard and how difficult it is to actually progress in this game properly on your own. One of the things that I want to talk about Dark Souls wise is that both in Dark Souls and in real life, failure is a teacher. It is the thing that realistically should be pushing you forward, the thing that should be moving you forward in life. You shouldn't rely on motivation, and especially for the love lives, as I've said before. Your first relationship is gonna be a failure, probably. Most people would call it that. You're young, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what's going on, you're just having fun. And a lot of people make the mistake and make an assumption that, oh, well, because it wasn't perfect, because it wasn't really good. Not only perfect, it wasn't a good relationship. Because it wasn't good, it is, or it was, a waste. And I understand some people, they get into a relationship, they last, what, a couple of months, maybe even weeks. And once they do break up, they feel the sense of they're not complete. They feel the sense of completion that is missing from them at that point in time. And that is one of, if not the worst feeling ever, because getting rejected is an awful feeling, but I would argue that getting accepted and then rejected is a worse feeling. And Dark Souls teaches you that rejection will be a part of life, failure will be a part of life, and that getting adapted to it now is better than never, and now is better than later, and now is the best time you can adapt to failure. And that just because you fail, just because it says you died, just because somebody breaks up with you, it doesn't make that death, it doesn't make that breakup worthless. It doesn't make what you did to get to that point of dying worthless. What I'm saying is, you'll go into life expecting, at a young age, you'll expect, well, hell, maybe even perfection. Maybe you'll expect life to be kind to you, but it never will be. It will always be difficult. It will always be difficult. No matter what happens, life will always treat you the same. It will be difficult, it will be harsh, it will be annoying. And that is, in its own right, well, it's a tragedy. To say the least, it is tragic to live a life like that, but it's also calming in a sense. Dark Souls is and will always be my favorite game of all time, I think. No matter what I do with any other game, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, which Bloodborne, Dark Souls, games like those, they were always interminglable. I could always intermingle with them, because I would think, one's better than the other, and one's this and one's that. But I think the more I think about Dark Souls, the more I'm like, huh, I really like Dark Souls. I really like this game. And I think this is my favorite game of all time because of the lessons it teaches you. Lessons that I think even Bloodborne fails to teach you. As Bloodborne doesn't tell you, yeah, exploration is good. No. Hell no, it doesn't teach you that in any sense. Exploration is. Dark Souls does that just with its tutorials so perfectly well, and that tutorial so perfectly well encapsulates that feeling of also. That tutorial encapsulates both of the lessons that I wanted to convey today, as it conveys the essence of not only does it convey that patience, that retreating isn't necessarily bad, it also conveys that retreating is not bad, that the way I died, the fact that I died, I learned. That's also one of the main things. Because I failed, I learned, and that's what's always going to happen in life. You are going to fail, you're going to die, and you are going to learn from it. And Dark Souls is, I think, the best game for learning. Thank you for watching.